to see Bob's work?
Family pictures for us.
Yeah, me too.
10 years ago.
I thought so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Glad you could make it.
So I had 20-something years ago. 23 years ago.
Lucky for me, he lived on the street that I live on.
So you know, yeah.
But you weren't expecting this to.
No, I was just gonna say, I just saw a show of yours, and,
This is
I'm not
nothing
sure-
like it.
I'm
Yeah.
not sure it was an image.
That's right, it's not a bit, no.
If you have to come into the
This is
club,
all new, brand spanking new.
try the second place.
Exactly.
Terrific, please. Or, well, let Jack.
Absorb.
I go wait, so you need to leave. All right.
Images, he took a page to the good. So the
Okay, now for something completely different. Welcome to the Freak Show. As a few of these guys can attest, this is highly unusual work for me. This is a new project that I've embarked upon. It's a collaborative effort with an artist friend of mine who is responsible for creating these remarkable entities. And I would guess it was about 22 to 25 years ago. We did a show together at Erector Square Gallery in New Haven. And I was struck by, his name is Bob, coincidentally as well. I was struck by Bob's work. At the time, he was working with animal bones. He would harvest roadkill. Let's just ignore that. Leave that one off.
Damn technology.
I know. At that time, he was like harvesting roadkill, any dead animals he could find, and he would, you know, strip off the flesh, let nature take its course with the rest of it, let it sit for a year or two, and he'd bleach the bones, and he would reconstruct new creatures, the skeletons of new creatures, you know, like the body of a bird and the head of a cat and the tail of a dog, outrageously out of proportion, but he's since moved on to a number of other things. And I don't know if you took a good look at some of these. This is all like in a tiny little yard, and for example, this one kind of illustrates, he's created these gigantic structures in his yard onto which he just assembles more and more unusual pieces of detritus from, you know, tag sales, the side of the road, any interesting trash that he finds, he incorporates into his evolving installation, if you will. I should back up and do a little bio. Let's see, I've been engaged with photography for, I think, around 47 years now, and I do work a lot like what we've seen today, earlier today, but I thought I'm going to shake it up a little bit and bring something different and get everybody a little like, oh, wow, what the hell is this crap, you know? But I've done my fair share of, you know, a few thousand rocks, trees, and buildings, and, you know, such. But I'm real excited about this new project. Again, backing up for a moment, I'm a little nervous. I've been making photographs for about almost 50 years now. But I've had the distinct pleasure of never having had to make a living at it. Unlike many of my peers here and elsewhere, it's very stressful, and it's allowed me to indulge in the medium in a way that, I don't know, it's just basically been a love affair. It's one of my methods of communication, and I was a professional musician for many years, and then I was a photo technician. I would design, build, and manage custom photo labs. I was teaching doctoral techniques at Quinnipiac University, and then I got into a career in business computer software I did that for over 30 years. And I just recently retired, so I'm now back to my first love, the image, and very, very happy. This project has kind of rejuvenated my excitement about the potential for photography, because this work allows me to engage in a high degree of interpretation, emotional interpretation of the work before me. These pieces, the subjects in front of the camera, you can tell very obviously these prints are highly manipulated. I really work a lot on them to get them to view their own light. I want to capture what is inherent within these pieces. So I'm employing a technique to kind of like give them their own light. It's a little more than just dodging it or anything like that. But I'm taking great pleasure in interpreting Bob's work my own way. He, in fact, had a couple of pieces in the Images show down in Guilford a few weeks back, and he lives, in fact, not too far from that gallery. He stopped by, took a peek at the works that were in the show. It was one I affectionately called Mr. Bill, and the other one I call Anvil Head. I don't know, it's not an anvil, but it's just what it evokes in my own mind's eye. But he was startled. He had never seen his own work rendered that way. And I shared a half a dozen more prints on how he felt this was going, and he was beside himself. He was really enthusiastic, and that bodes well for the future of the project, which will, entail another good 9 months worth of work in image capture, because no exaggeration, the guy's property, it's like I say, a postage stamp of a little piece of land. His house is only about 700 square feet. It's a little cottage on a lake. He's got, within those confines, this is not exaggeration, probably between 2,000 and 3,000 pieces. I mean, it's packed. You kind of get the idea of just how packed it is by looking at this image here. There's television Shakespeare, and here I can kind of render a detail that is every bit as interesting as this little section of one of his walls. And this is to say nothing of what's inside of his house. He's run out of wall space with 700 square feet. That would be easy to do. And his pieces range in size from like the size of a BB to an entire jail cell. He has a jail cell in his house, or his little house. And he's got all sorts of installation art going on in that jail cell. But he ran out of room, so he's taken to stringing netting on his ceilings, and he's now hanging his pieces and like entangling them in the netting. So you walk into his house, even me, a short guy like me, I've got to crouch down because there's just a bazillion things. The place is utterly overwhelming. On one visit, I brought a photographer friend of mine who I'd really hoped and expected would be here, Bob Giannotti. And Bob was utterly flabbergasted. He couldn't speak. He was like in total shock and awe at the potential of any place, because everywhere your eyes land, there's stuff, just stuff to photograph and enjoy and marvel over. I'm doing this not only for myself, but for Bob's benefit, because he's very highly possessive of his constructions and his entities and so forth. And he no longer exhibits the work as he did 25 years ago. He's reluctant to move the pieces. These are photographed in situ, outdoors, on his property. And that's where they'll stay. And so no one else gets to enjoy them or marvel at them or be repulsed by them. I kind of see them as like projections from the subconscious. This is very almost nightmarish dream imagery, particularly some of those down there. You know, this peculiar little vacuum cleaner baby boy. It's very weird stuff. So, you know, he's perfectly happy and content to engage in his own personal relationship with his work. And if anyone happens to come along, he's pleased to share that with them, but he doesn't go out of his way to, you know, display or exhibit the work. And I feel he's really doing something artistically important. And I want to share that with the rest of the world. So I proposed to him that, you know, I'll photograph your work, I'll interpret it my way, and I'll exhibit it. And, you know, are you happy with that? And he's ecstatic, he's really pleased, which makes me happy. Because I consider it an honor to photograph his work. He works so diligently, he has the purest relationship with his art than any individual I've ever met. These are truly his children, as bizarre and weird as they may be. But, that's, you know, how he feels, and I'm pleased I can respect that relationship and yet share the work at the same time. So it's kind of documentary, it's highly interpretive. As I said, you know, these works don't look very, very much like this in real life. I mean, I'm killing all the shadow detail in some of these pieces, but I leave other shadows. I like tease. I like hinting at what's in the darkness. And, one of the feelings I'm trying to create with these works is that these entities it's as if they are emerging from the darkness of the subconscious. That's kind of the gist of the feel I'm going for. You know, some people find clowns and dolls and such mannequins creepy, and, you know, kind of concur on some of that. I got such a kick out of it. You know, when I walked onto the property and I saw the lady in the lake, this thing just flipped me out. And you may have noticed I'm a prenatal amputee, so I was like, hey, she's like me. You know? So it's like a sort of a piece I can personally connect to, you know. But I don't know much of what else to say about it other than they're provocative, they're tragic, they're scary, they're violent, they're inexplicable in some regards, you know. Television Man, I don't know what the hell's going on with that, you know. But it works real nice with, you know, the mannequin head on a mound of stuff. This is a sink, actually. I don't know, 2 dozen porcelain sinks in his yard. And he turns them all sideways, and he employs them as like what he refers to as shrines. He likes to think of his work as being enshrined. There's also, not in any of this because it's all inside his house, there's a heavy theme of like crucifixion imagery running through his work. The crown of thorns, Christ on the cross, there's a lot of that inside. That's a whole other 5 more, you know, portfolios. But I think he's a remarkable artist, and I'm pleased to team up with him and represent his work. Sure, go ahead.
So, how much time did you spend isolating these images?
This whole thing was done the image capturing was done in about 2 hours. And these are the edits out of the
But obviously,
500 other
obviously you
images.
spent quite a bit of time, though, trying to isolate each one of these things, because it's total chaos.
Looking at the imagery, these are digitally captured. Although I shot.
Oh, you didn't do large format film?
No. Well, the bulk of my work over my lifetime has been film-based work. You know, come on. And albeit with, you know, tiny little 120, I was an SL66 guy for about 30 years, 40 years, something like that. And I also shot, you know, 8x10 and 4x5, reducing back on the 8x10 once in a blue moon, but I figured if I'm pulling the beast out, I'm gonna make a big negative, you know. So I've got all that kind of stuff too, and I knew we were gonna see a lot of that over this weekend. And I thought, you know, I'm gonna throw a curve into this whole thing and kind of get everybody's juices thinking, like going a little left field on all of them. To, you know, because I did this, I went through this process of kind of breaking out of the confines of my self-imposed constraints. You know, oh, I don't shoot that. I'm retired now, I have all the time in the world. Now I do shoot that. I shoot anything at all. I'm experiencing an unprecedented level of creative freedom and getting myself off my own back. You know, I don't know if that's a good way to put it, but you know. So, and this project's been instrumental in helping me make that kind of achievement. It was starting a little bit before this. I've got a couple of pieces hanging in a gallery in New Haven, at Kayla Liddell Gallery, and they kind of begin to illustrate the, you know, Bob's going out to left field now approach. And they're wacky, I know, bizarre. You know, I'm enjoying this. I like not having to place the brightest value on zone 9, and you know, keep the shadow detail exactly where I need. Yeah, I like being free to more creatively express myself. This work is far more emotionally expressive than a lot of work I've done in the recent past and far past as well. So
I think you made a perfect decision in keeping the color palette very consistent, so at least it's forcing me to focus on just the abnormality of the subject matter. So I'm only looking at just the image and not looking at the process or anything.
Yeah.
Just, I think that's
cool. Yeah. Yeah.
To focus on nothing but the content.
Oh, good, good. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with this. I mean, much of this is, you know, I'm creating the light. I'm not like having to work with the light that I find there. I'm building it myself. Yeah.
So you said that Bob's ecstatic about I mean, that.
Yeah, he's happy.
So, is this the first time his work has been photographed like this? I mean, there's something that you, in terms of going in.
I actually did a little bit about 20 when we showed together at Erectus Square, but it was strictly personal stuff.
Yeah.
I you know, wanted it for myself, and I also wanted to provide him with some documentary photographs in case he ever wanted to, you know, get a portfolio of his work out there without having to get the work out there. Those were his constructions of animal bones, which, you know, are really, really fragile.
You see somebody who, I mean, who otherwise, I mean, I kind of imagine this, and I need to ask you about the dialogue between you and he relative to this work and how it might be affecting his own process in some way, or is that pretty bomb-proof at this point? I mean,
he's just simply delighting in another person's interpretation and response to his work. He didn't say anything to me yet about how it might have affected his own approach to his own work. I don't think anything would. He is, because of the way his engagement with his work is it's as natural as, you know, sitting down and drinking a cup of coffee in your favorite chair. It's something he just does on autopilot, and you know, he's always thinking, or you know, he's always visualizing his own creations, you know, from his own history of his body of work, which is extensive and lengthy. You know, he's been an active artist personally and privately for probably coming up on 60 years now.